What's going on, everybody? It is Jason from Metal Dad Audio here, and today I'm doing this video to show you a method of tracking guitars at home that will get you good results every single time. I'm going to preface what I'm about to recommend you a piece of gear, and I'm going to preface that by saying, like, I am totally, like, anti-gas, which is gear acquisition syndrome. Like, I am not a fan of just, like, going out and, like, buying shitloads of gear because, like, you think it's going to make things better. It 9 times out of 10, it probably won't. Like, you can buy all the crazy gear and software in the world, but if you don't have, like, the fundamental basics of things down, it's going to be, like, completely useless to you. You'd be like a Jedi baby, like, waving around a lightsaber, you know? So the one piece of gear that I'm going to recommend that you have if you're recording guitar or bass at home is a DI box. I use this sweet Type 85 from Countryman. It's really cool. It's got an instrument in. It goes out to your amp. And then on the back here, you got an XLR, which what that does is it converts the guitar signal from that comes off of pickups into a signal that the preamps on your consumer audio interface can take better. So I always use a DI box anytime I'm recording guitars. I have ever since I got one. I regret everything that I did where I didn't use the DI box now that I have one. These are awesome if you're going to reamp guitars, if you're going to have someone reamp guitars, if you're going to have someone mix your stuff, if you're going to use amp sim plugins, your sound will just be better. Okay, so before we get started here, I want to talk really briefly about something that's very important when you're recording anything, especially when you're doing like dry guitar tracks, and that is gain staging. Okay, so when you are recording anything, you don't want anything to be clipping, anything to be like going into the red. Like when I chug here on this track, you can see where that meter, the gain meter, is jumping to when I chug. See, if I turn up the input gain on my interface, see the red light's bad, okay? So if you're seeing red lights when you're doing heavy palm mutes on a distorted guitar, if you're seeing red lights, back off on the input gain on your interface. All right, let's try this here. Okay, yeah, there's about where you want it. And then even here on the plug-in output, like if you crank this up, see it's clip city everywhere. So you just want to make sure when you do heavy palm muted chugs, which that's like the loudest signal that's going to come out of your guitar, because you can see even like if I'm playing like real high notes or like whatever, the signal's a lot quieter than when you do like heavy chugs. So just set your levels according to that and you'll be good to go. So what I have here is I've got these, this is just a bounce of a drum bus from a song that I did a couple years ago. My friend Tony played drums on it. My friend Harrison sang on it. And I just pulled out the drum bus, and I'm going to track guitar and bass and show you all a method to do that using a DI box and amp sim plugins that will get you good results. So I'm going to start by going here to the track add menu in Studio One. I'm going to set the input to 7, which that's where my DI box goes into my interface at. I'm going to turn on my phantom power because the Countryman is an active DI box, which, you know, it takes power to run. I've heard people say that if you're using a guitar with passive pickups, get an active DI box, and if you're using a guitar with active pickups, get a passive DI box. I only have this one. I've only used this one, and I've used it with passive and active pickups, and I've gotten good results every time. So just take that with a grain of salt and just get a good one. Radio makes some good ones. There are a ton of companies that make them, and it's just worth it to have one in your signal. On these guitar tracks here, I'm going to add in Neural DSP archetype nollie, which this plugin is absolutely insane. Okay, so I've got my 2 guitar tracks here. These are going to be for rhythm guitar tracks. Call this guitar L, left guitar. Guitar right, right guitar. For rhythm guitars, you want to usually do just one hard left, one hard right. You know, people talk about like quad tracking and stuff, but that can get kind of messy. Everything will sound sick if you just get like a good sound on the left and right side. I'm going to go in here to archetype nollie, and I'm going to set up a guitar tone. Okay, so I know I want this because it's the 5150 in there. And I like the M160 and the 57 as mics on guitar cabs. Like the blend of them just sounds really cool. So I'm gonna mess around with this for a second and just get it sounding. I mean, honestly, that's already pretty close to what I want. Having the 160 here over the cap, it makes it a good bit brighter, and the 57 over here on the edge is darker. Okay, I think that's a cool cab sound, so I'm gonna go over here to the amp. The first thing I'm gonna do is turn this gain down a little bit because I'm going for like a more, like, I guess, like genty tone. Bump these mids up. Turn the highs up. I have a tube 6505 in here, and I've kind of found that like the sweet spot on the master volume for that is around 7. So that's kind of where I'll set it, even if I'm using plugins or whatever. Give it some resonance, brighten it up on the presence. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. The next thing I'm going to do is go over here, and I'm just going to grab this overdrive 1. I pretty much know how I want this to sound. Like this, anytime I'm setting up a tube screamer, I kind of wind up with settings that look about like this. So I think I want it a bit brighter. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go for a guitar tone on this, and I'm just going to copy that over to the other track so I have the same guitar tone on each side. And the first thing I'm going to do before I set out to record is I'm going to tune. Alright, I don't even use the top string on this one, so I'm not too worried about them, since the bottom ones are good. So, alright, you'll notice I have the first beat of the drums landing back at measure 3. That's because I like to give myself a couple measures ahead of time and have things recording. Because if you do it straight here, I'll just go ahead and I'll track just like a chug here so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see right there on the screen how like the beginning of that note is like cut off. Like you lose the attack of that note, which sometimes that'll sound weird, like if you're doing reamps. So give it a couple measures back, and I've checked my tuning, so I'm going to try to actually track this out. Jump the gun. Okay, so there's that. We'll probably run the breakdowny part again. Yeah, that was kind of, I think the first half was probably okay, but once it transitioned that breakdown, I got a little squirrely, so I want to run that again. It's important to take time to you know, record stuff and get it right. It's better to take a couple more takes here than it is to like try and make like a sloppy take sound good. All right, yeah, that was a little flub there that actually sounded kind of cool. I hit the wrong string, but I think I'm going to leave it in. I played it that way intentionally on the second track. Now I'm going to record the guitars for the right side. All right, here we go for the right side guitars. Flub that up. All right, I noticed that where I had that one part as a flub in the first guitar track, it's kind of sloppy where I was actually like playing it right in the second guitar track. So I'm going to hit that one more time. Oh my god, what the... That whole fucking track just disappeared. Oh my god, everything is fucking gone. What the shit? Alright, I guess hitting undo while you're recording in Studio One is a no-go because it can just cause you to accidentally delete all your shit. So here we go. From the top, I suppose. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to listen to all that back and make sure everything's nice and tight. Okay, yeah. Okay, so those sound cool to me. So now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to do some bass. And before I switch over to the bass, you know, I'm using Archetype Ollie. I'm using Archetype Nolly for the amp sim on this, and I'm gonna like just solo out these guitar tracks and turn off this click, and let you hear what just the dry guitar tracks sound like. So yeah, that's just what like the dry guitar tracks sound like. It's pretty, you know, weird sounding, you know, if you've always been playing through an amp or whatever. But yeah, that's it. So bass time. All right, now I'm gonna add in a bass track. My bass tracks I always make purple. Just helps keep me organized. I'm gonna go with input 7, and I'm gonna pull up this pair default, which that is, I only need one of those. That is Neural DSP's Parallax plugin, and that's what I'm gonna use for the bass tone on this. I'm gonna make this pretty clanky and dirty. Mid draw, what we got here? Okay, that's probably a bit too clanky. I'm just gonna compress the low pretty hard. So I'm gonna go over here to the cab block. I want some brighter cab stuff going on, I think. Oh, now that output's clipping. Now you don't want anything clipping, just because that like clipping is like the one way you're gonna make just stuff just sound bad. Okay, that kind of sounds okay to me. So I'm going to pull up a tuner. I think that sounds a lot better. I think I had that high drive just too much. Okay, so I'm going to record this now. Totally lost it there at the breakdown, but otherwise that was okay. Think if I chop that last little note off there, that'll be okay. All right, and here I'll do the bass with and without parallax, so you can hear what the bass DI sounds like. All right, yeah, and I'll let it all play through together. And that is how you can record guitar and bass at home. for heavy rhythm guitars and, you know, for a metal song. Yeah, you all take care.